Hi, and welcome back to the Evolution of Success podcast. On today's show, we're joined by Pat Divilly, who's a high-performance coach and a speaker. Pat starred in The Evolution of Success and is also a fellow Irishman. I wanted to ask Pat on today, just as you know, we're going through the next 10 podcasts are going to be around the current crisis that we're dealing with, and I'm reaching out to the people that I know in the Evolution of Success and just to see how they're dealing with it in their part of the world and any tips for anybody who may be struggling right now. So Pat, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks a million for having me. I'm always delighted to get to chat to you. And as you say, it's an interesting time, so it's probably a good chance to speak about the things that we're into.
Yeah, completely. I've been following what you're doing on Instagram, by the way. I think it's brilliant. Just talk us through what you're doing currently on your own Instagram page to help people in this situation.
Yeah, I suppose when this all kicked in, it was obviously overwhelming for us all. And one of my first instincts was kind of to get out of my own head and go and try help people. And so I put together a 14-day self-awareness challenge kind of as a free resource for people just to get to know themselves. And the theory behind it is that, you know, we can't control what's going on externally, but we do have some level of control in our mind. And with that in mind, I just put together some simple meditations and journaling prompts and put together a community where people can kind of support each other. Because as much as we're dealing with uncertainty now, I think that's something we're going to be facing for the next couple of months. And so I just wanted to arm people with tools that can support them.
Yeah, no, I think it's brilliant. And I know that you've got clients in all various different in all different walks of life. Have you had people reach out to you through this time? And what has been their biggest questions or fears, or what's coming through to you?
Oh, every type of person. I mean, I've got teenagers that are worried about their exams, that are struggling with their mental health. I've got people in their, late 60s and 70s that are worried about their partners and their compromised health. And I guess just, people of every other age that are thinking about work and how the recession's going to come and, all this kind of stuff. And obviously the social isolation, there's so many different elements to this. I think it's just thrown our routine completely out the window. And obviously as humans, we like to have some level of at least feeling like we're in control. We're obviously not in control, but we like to think that we're certain of what's coming next. And this amount of uncertainty is just kind of unprecedented, and it's overwhelming for people. One of the reasons we don't change is because we like to know, or one of the reasons we want to change but we struggle to change is because we like routine and we like habit. And so the rug's kind of being pulled from under our feet here, and I think that's just overwhelming to people to some degree. And I think it requires a certain level of trust and slowing down. I suppose we're getting a sign here to slow down, and if we're willing to do that, hopefully there's lessons in it. And it doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but I think it's going to be a time where we can definitely grow. And I said to my group that one of the things we have to recognize is that you can only demonstrate courage when you're afraid, and you can only demonstrate some of the most human traits when you're struggling. And so despite the struggle, I think we've got opportunity here to grow and to learn, to contribute, to look out for people around us, and to get back to some of the more human traits that sometimes we lose when we're in the rat race.
Yeah, I completely agree, and that was really well put as well. I do think that, what I've said a couple of times, even to Natalie Ledwell yesterday, what my worries and stresses were, because we all have them no matter what level we're working at or no matter what we've been through, are completely irrelevant now. Where my head was at and the direction I was going in, even 5 weeks ago has completely and utterly changed direction pretty much within days, and was then unfolding in hours, and I feel fortunate, and I know that even whenever I interviewed you for the Evolution of Success, we've both been through downturns before in our past and had to come through things and come out the other side. And I think we're fortunate that we have some form of experience in this. But for some people, this is the first time, especially people who are 18, 19 and don't even know what happened back in 2008 to 2012. I think that it forces us into looking and saying, what can we do next? So to do that, what would be your advice for somebody that just has been blindsided by this completely, and it finds himself in social isolation and not able to even go see their parents or their grandparents?
Yeah, look, it's difficult. I think the first thing is acceptance, and I think that's kind of we have to take 100% responsibility for our lives at all times. That's the reality. And a lot of us are not where we want to be right now, particularly with things that are happening. We all want to be out socializing. We want to be doing our daily routine. We want to be We want the freedom that we had just a couple of weeks ago, but obviously that's not an option right now. And so I think acceptance is the first bit. You kind of accept where you are and you work from that position. There's certain things outside of my control, and I have to recognize what is in my control. So, certain things that are in your control is maybe where you put your attention in terms of the media that you're watching from home, whether or not you take some time to exercise, whether or not you take some time to meditate, whether you're looking at the problems or you're looking for possibilities, whether you're caught in the obstacles or you're looking for opportunities. The reason I set up that group where we just journal and meditate is just to bring people back to themselves. And on a very simple level, when we're stressed, we're in the reptilian part of the brain and we're very reactive, and we get into kind of vicious circles of, stress and overwhelm leading to feelings of stress and overwhelm. And that just becomes a cycle. And so with meditation, we can get out of that state. With journaling, we can start getting proactive in terms of where we want to go. So I think those couple of things, start with acceptance. We are where we are. What can I do from here? There's no point fighting with reality. There's no point blaming anyone or shaming ourselves. From there, look into some kind of meditative practice or some way of relaxing, maybe yoga or Pilates or something where you can get out of that stress state and get into a more rest and digest state, which is where we're creative and where we come up with our best ideas. And then from there, start brainstorming as to how, one exercise I gave my clients was to recognize a lot of the problems you have on your mind right now that you may face in the next 6 months, and then try to get strategic with how you can best handle them. We all know, me and you know that we're going to have different business models 6 months from now. And there's no point, fighting with that. We've got to kind of get proactive and say, right, what are the struggles that are going to come my way? And then how do I need to look after myself in terms of self-care to ensure I'm at my best? And then from a practical sense, how do I adjust? How do I adapt? How do I overcome? Are there certain skills and tools and mindsets and learnings that I can get while I'm at home? Is there certain stuff I can be watching? Is there programs and courses I can be going through that are going to ensure when I come out the far side of this, I've upskilled in some way? Because I think this will pass over. I don't know how long it's going to take, but let's say 3 months from now, we're all getting back to normal. I want to be able to look back on those 3 months and say, I did the best with the time that I had. I didn't let panic, overwhelm, and fear cripple me. I got proactive. I took some time for myself. I took the chance to slow down. I went through some courses. I adjusted my business model and I made the most of the 3 months. And I think if we can all say that, we're making the most of it.
Yeah, I know. And you're right. Fortunately as well, like we had went remote working last March, just over a year ago actually. And we've been used to this. Our team's been used to this. So we have actually kind of ramped up a bit in the past 2 weeks because we've been quite busy. But a lot of the last time now, whenever this happened to me and I end up finding myself not working and not having a job and not having my business anymore and find myself unemployment, I did bury my head in the sand and I drank a lot, I overcame that and I've stopped drinking 3.5 years now. But at that point, if I knew what I know now back then, I would be hitting the ground running with thinking this is like an incubator. We've got these times and, different things. I don't know if you use it or not, but it's brilliant, Pat. It's called Skillshare. It's like Skillshare.com. You can learn how to sing. You can learn how to knit. You can learn how to do stuff with marketing. You can learn to do stuff with anything at all. And I'm with you on that. I think that people need to take this opportunity and say, I want to be the best version of myself after this is over. And just try to agree completely, like switch off the news. One thing that I have been doing really right now more than ever, and it is what I had done previously more heavily years ago, was practicing just gratitude and being so grateful for what I have and picking something every day to really focus on. Like today, for example, I end up doing, me and my cousins are in like a WhatsApp group and we're doing like group video calls. We haven't connected as much of this in 10 years. Do you know what I mean? Like relationships that were 10 years ago, we're now coming back really, really strong, and it's I love it. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I heard an expression. I don't know if it's a common expression, but it was talking about being a crisis meditator, which is someone who goes to meditation when things get really bad, but maybe doesn't have a consistent practice. And something that I always tell people with any of the work that we do around personal development or meditation or self-care is that they've got to become practices, and the hardest time to practice is when things get difficult, but that's the time when you really need to create space for it. So I remember being back in school and I couldn't wait for college, because I thought when I get to college everything's going to be perfect. And then when I got to college, I was looking back at school and thinking, Jesus, it was so simple when I was back in school. And what I'm getting at is there's never a perfect time in life. We always think the future or the past, and so the perfect time to start gratitude, if you don't currently do it, is right now. The perfect time to double down on your gratitude is right now. And I think take the tools, anything you've read in a book that kind of resonated and you thought that would be a good thing to implement in my life, I think now is the time. There's never a better time than now. And so, yeah, for me, it's the same thing. Like yourself, I've gone through struggles like this before. And looking back, I would have used alcohol as a crutch at those times, and I wouldn't have had the self-care practices. So anyone who's feeling a bit stuck or stagnant right now, I think, movement is another thing to consider, just getting some kind of workout in the day. That's something I had to catch myself on today. I've been going through lots of courses and doing lots of study and stuff, but I'm living in my head when I'm doing that stuff. And so it's important to mix that up by moving the energy. And it seems like every fitness trainer on Facebook has got free workouts up at the moment. So again, what better time?
Yeah, no, it's brilliant, because you do have a fitness background as well, and that's what I was actually going to ask. What is there, say for example, like my mum who's in her mid-60s, my dad who's in his mid-60s, and they want to maybe look at a bit of exercise now because they're seeing all this stuff on the news about what's your lung capacity like, are you what version, but they maybe haven't looked at health or fitness. For someone of that age, what can they do just on a daily with this isolation, just to introduce themselves back into fitness safely?
It's a good question, yeah. The two aspects that I always tell people with fitness in terms of making it a change is, number one, it's got to be something you enjoy. So if I were in that position, I'd probably be looking at, again, so many free resources online now. I would be looking at maybe for the next 7 days, I'm going to try a different type of class every day. Yoga one day, Pilates the next day, something else the next day. Not become married to any of them, just treat this as an opportunity to find something that kind of clicks for me. So I think enjoying what you do is the first most important thing with exercise. And I think the second pillar is accountability of some kind by being in a group. So again, if people can start getting used to using Zoom and all these platforms that we have now, like you say, WhatsApp video, I think that accountability piece is often overlooked, and we try to go at things alone. And I think this whole virus, again, it's sending us lots of signals and messages, and one of them is that we need each other and we need to support one another and kind of look out for one another. So I'd say set yourself a little challenge, maybe consider for the next 7 days, 7 different classes that you want to do. Not doing it to, I think again, an important thing with exercise is let go of the expectation that it needs to be tough, and maybe think about making it fun. And that's when you start to enjoy it. That's when you find momentum. And then as you've got a kind of routine going, then you can start upping the intensity a little bit. But just, I think, keep moving, even just for the mental aspect, even for getting the energy running through the body rather than having stagnant emotions. I think it's important.
Yeah, brilliant, Pat. And the one thing that I hope that happens, the world has united in this very rapidly. It's been, a series of months, and we've seen all the countries speak to each other very amicably and all make decisions together, whether what they're going to do, or take advice from other countries, or take the teachings from what's happening in another country. And that's something that I hope to see in like 12 months, because it's just, I think that we have all been running at such a fast pace, and there's been loads and loads of things going on with the fires in Australia, with all these different things, and it for me it's I'm glad, and there is a really positive in this, and just like pausing, and not to focus just on economy, and just focusing on the peace and the planet, and I hope that we can actually work all together and conquer countries that are suffering from severe hunger issues, and things like that. After that, I hope that this continues on and we all do learn from it.
Yeah, I've been I'm going through so many courses at the moment like that. It's my first chance getting to actually spend some time at home and not be out speaking and stuff. But one of the courses I'm going through is Viktor Frankl's material. So he was the guy that wrote Man's Search for Meaning. And this was a guy that was in the concentration camps years ago, and his family were killed. He had everything taken away from him. And his whole philosophy was you can take everything from a person, but you can't take their perspective or how they choose to see a situation. And the book is called Man's Search for Meaning, and I think it's probably an apt one for what we're going through over the next couple of months, because people that are out of work and really struggling financially and stuff like that, or struggling with health or loss of loved ones, the one thing again that they have within their control, which is not always easy, is perspective. But what he talks about is that a lot of people get caught up in chasing material things, chasing status, chasing money. And he says the only way to end up happy is to have meaning in your life. He reckons that's the absolute pillar. And one of the key aspects of meaning is that whole thing of going out and helping people and seeing beyond yourself. Again, when I stress about my own problems, I'm becoming obsessed with myself. And if I can take myself out of that and think about how I can impact someone else, that's where I start to find meaning, and that's where fulfillment comes from. He talks about this existential vacuum where we have everything we thought we wanted, but we don't feel fulfilled. And again, the meaning piece is important. And again, this coronavirus has given us lessons, and one of them is probably that: come back to basics, come back to meaning, get out of your own self, and go out and help people.
Well, I think that is a brilliant message to leave the podcast on. But Pat, it was brilliant catching up, as always. It always is. And you've been through such a journey yourself as well, and you're giving so much back, and you help like a lot of people. I watched your IGTV video just 20 minutes ago, and I'm getting value from all of these going out every day through the 14-day cycle, and I think it's brilliant. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting, and look, I hope to chat with you again once this is all sort of done and dusted.
Nice one, man. Thank you. Look after yourself.